Let's first start with settings. Wouldn't recommend changing most settings, but you can always change your resolution here. You can switch between full screen and windowed. One thing for people who do stream themselves or record themselves, full screen is not working with game capture right now. I don't know if that's going to be the case forever, so I have it in windowed so I can record from the window because I don't want to do a display capture. In audio, I would recommend lowering some of these volume sliders. It's a bit too loud at the start, so I've lowered music volume, I've lowered the master volume, and lowered the ambience volume just a bit, just so you guys can hear me talk. You might even still sometimes hear the sound be too loud over my voice. Now, the game section is where I might recommend the most changes. I would increase your autosave frequency to seasonal. I believe it starts with semi-annual at the start. Of course, there's 4 seasons in a year, 4 autosaves a year. It's not that bad. Problems can pop up where you need to reload the game, so seasonal is definitely a good idea. Also do autosave after the embark. That's just as soon as you start the game, it'll save. Pause after every autosave. Pretty self-explanatory. Just pause the game after it autosaves. Just a handy thing to have because sometimes things will happen at the very start of a season as soon as it rolls over, and then you want to be able to answer to that quickly. So that's why I would always pause it. Pause after loading, same thing. You don't want to necessarily go into a situation that's hot unpaused, you know? A lot of these other ones I'd leave the way they are. One thing to note, though, is the keyboard cursor enabled. This returns the game to its classic state for how you select things. And I'm not going to get too in-depth with it here, but it's like if you hold down shift and the arrow key, you make a larger selection on the screen. But you still have the mouse available, but the downside of turning this on is you no longer, when you're selecting with your mouse, you don't get a box selection anymore if you turn this on. It's kind of a give and take. If you're really used to the way the game was in the past, you probably want to turn this on to yes. If you're playing the game for the first time, or you're ready to learn how to play with the mouse, you'd probably want to leave that on no, because there is advantages and disadvantages to both. Down here is a bunch of the minimum and maximum values that things can have. Again, this is one I would not mess with too much. Embarked width and height, you can change this in the selection screen, I think, when you're picking a start. If your computer's a little slow, maybe you're running on a little laptop or something, you might want to bring this down to 3 instead of 4, because it'll still have plenty of space. I wouldn't really recommend going up to 5, and I really wouldn't recommend going down to 2, because then this is your starting area. That'll make it too small to play in, really, if it's 2, or it'll be too big if it's 5. Some of the other ones to consider changing, again, if your system is slow, I would recommend these, is lowering the population caps. There's the regular population cap, and then there's one that also includes new babies being born, which is a more hard cap. This will make it so definitely you can't go over 220, where this is a little lighter. But yeah, same for all these, just lower them a bit if you're rolling a low-end system. There's also some FPS settings down here. I wouldn't mess with them. The game runs at a default of 50 FPS, which I know is a very strange number, but I assume that it's like that for a reason, so I don't mess with it. One thing you might want to turn on, though, is show numeric liquid values. This will just show you how deep water is instead of it just being a water texture. And you can also change all the keybinds for the game if you so desire. I'm not going to mess with them. You can change them back to the way they were in the classic game, but I would do that at your own peril because they've probably been changed for a reason. I don't expect they would have changed them if there wasn't a reason to change them.